You see, millions of Iranians right now are in their home, maybe just waiting to come out. It's like a prison to dance and celebrate in the streets. How do I know this? I'm Iranian, and I know my people aren't just mourning. They're hoping, dreaming. But for the first point in years, it feels like someone is actually standing up to the neighborhood bully. And that someone is the mini-state of Israel. The regime in Iran wasn't attacked because they're Iranian. They were attacked because they're terrorists. They steal Iran's money, then give billions to Syria. They beat Iran's daughters. They silence the voices of millions of Iranians. You have maybe 2,000 protests in the last, 2-3 years. And they use such brutality to silence many of these Iranians. Now, Israel didn't bomb a village. They went after, military locations, right? They didn't focus it on the Iranian people. They focused on the regime that was basically choking them. Now, ask any, thoroughbred Iranian. They're not crying about the regime. Those guys funded Hamas, right? Those guys sent billions to Assad, the Palestinian terrorists. Those guys made Iran broke while their daughters flew to Europe with Chanel bags. And the regime dares call that resistance? Nah, man, that's tyranny. And this might be the first point where we're looking at a legitimate crack in the wall. Now, some Americans might say, don't strike Iran, it'll start a war. Let me tell you something. Iran's regime has already started that war. They funded October 7th massacre, right? They sent rockets to Hezbollah. They trained the Houthi pirates hitting global trade. They burned Lebanon, choked Syria, and basically indoctrinated Gaza, right? Look how many Palestinians right now can't wait to have freedom from Hamas. Those fanatical terrorist beasts that have hurt so many innocent Israeli civilians and have caused so much horror in the world. But anyway, they lie. And, they lie on, let's say, Twitter. They say they speak for the Iranian people. They don't. And every Iranian student protester and mother in Mashhad knows it. Beautiful Iranian city. Even Reagan backed off in '83 when Iran's proxies killed 241 Marines. But Israel didn't flinch at this point. They finally brought justice, something America maybe should have done decades back, right? Iran's people have been abandoned long enough by Europe, by the UN, and yes, even Obama's policy of appeasement. But at this point, thanks to Israel's bravery and courage and American help, there's maybe some hope, right? Maybe there's some hope. Just imagine the prosperity and the peace in the Middle East if Iran and Israel and Saudi are friends. Let's get something straight. This is not bombing Iran. This is a liberation at mass scale. And if you're still confused, here's the fact check. The government and the people are not the same. I'm Iranian, I tell you this, okay? I'm mixed, Iranian and Israeli, but my Iranian family is completely separate. The Persian people are ancient, proud, intelligent. The government is brutal, corrupt, and terrified of freedom. So when you see people cheering Israel in Tehran cafes, whispering on VPNs and lighting candles for Nima Yamini, that's not Zionism, that's hope. Okay, I'm an Iranian father, okay? I have a daughter, an Iranian daughter. She's half German. My wife's German. And I want her to go to Iran with freedom. So if you're looking at this, tell an Iranian, hey, you know what? You're not alone. Tell your friends. Iran deserves freedom, not terrorist fanaticism. And if you have, a little bit of valor, share this video. Maybe this point, history won't repeat itself. Take who you learn from and think about it. Like, for example, this guy, Bassem Youssef, he's an Egyptian comedian. And like some freshmen at UCLA who think TikTok clips are like textbooks and Hamas is this like misunderstood underdog, they'll see one of his videos of Bassem mocking Israel and suddenly he's like this freedom fighter, right?
I think you should update your poison. You should get an updated version of the talking points against Israel. All of the things you said they're quite low level. They're not very impressive. I've heard it 1,000,000 times and it's quite childish. It's interesting for me to hear that from an Egyptian. Last time I checked, Egypt is the second largest beneficiary of American money, and if you reportedly really care about your tax money, then have you asked yourself why the US is providing so much money to Egypt and what the US gets in return? And what I would like to know is, why is the Arab Egyptian Republic refusing to receive refugees, their Arab Muslim brothers from Gaza, and why are they so inhumane and cruel and preventing poor Gazans from escaping a war zone? Last time I checked, the only war where civilians have been prevented from leaving, escaping, fleeing a battlefield is this war. I cannot remember, and maybe you as a comedian can think of another war where civilians were prevented from a neighboring non-hostile state to flee the war. I cannot remember any such thing. And I think that the country where you come from has a lot to answer from. I know that you're more confident in bashing Israel and talking conspiracy theories and AIPAC this and that and all of the other nonsense that you regurgitated. But let's talk about Egypt. Let's talk about their responsibility. Let's talk about US funds to Egypt. Let's talk about their cruelty. Let's talk about how they have prevented humanitarian access to Gaza. Let's talk about the fact that they have built the world's biggest wall that dwarfs the Chinese wall and all Israeli security walls between Gaza and Egypt. Why did they do that? Out of Muslim compassion? Out of care for humanitarian rights of their Arab brothers? No, because they want the poor Gazans in, and because they know that programs like this one and other programs will support Hamas propaganda and will blame Israel for what's happening.
A hero, the voice of the oppressed. But here's the truth. Basim is fooling liberal arts majors, not like military analysts or people from the Middle East necessarily. It's not like, the fact is that like he hasn't seen maybe the Israeli kids and civilians that were attacked by terrorism, not the Syrian refugees who saw Israeli medics cross borders to save their lives. No, he fools the people who've never left campus, essentially, who call everything colonialism. And while they're tweeting from their latest phone that mommy and daddy might have bought, they don't know Israel flew rescue teams to Turkey after the earthquake. They don't know Israel treated Gazans injured by Hamas. They don't know Israel offered to help Iranians after every major disaster, while the regime chanted basically death to Israel. They've never read about how Israel gave power to Gaza, jobs to Palestinians, and free heart surgery to Arab children. But Basim says, blame Israel, and they clap because slogans are easy, right? Thinking for yourself is a little bit harder. They call it comedy, but is it? I don't think so. It's essentially like propaganda with a punchline. And outside that campus bubble, right, where you actually have rockets fall, where actual people have homes and are getting hurt, no one's actually laughing. Israel isn't perfect, right? They make mistakes. I'll admit that. I think many Israelis will. But Basim isn't truth. He's just like the loudest liar in the room. So share this video if you're just finished with the disinformation and you want to let the world know that truth, will not get canceled, and Israel's story deserves to get heard. And hopefully, we can save the West. We can save Israel. We can save Europe. We can save, the United States and Canada as they're getting attacked. And, what do we have, folks, if we don't have freedom? Like,